Welcome to our special, very special quarterly edition of Newsfile, Joy Change Speakers Series 4. Our 6 distinguished guests, Honorable Inu Safuseni, Bridget Jugbanuku, Professor Bafor Ajumandua, Oliver Baka Vomawo, Ace Anan Ankoma, and Caitlin Ade. Will spend 15 to 20 minutes each making a case for review of the Constitution or otherwise. And then they will take questions from you. We will ask some of the questions. And when I say we, I mean myself and my co-host, Maame Mensa-Bonsu. She holds a BA in Theatre Arts and Spanish and an LLB, both with first-class honors from the University of Ghana. She completed the Bachelor of Civil Law with distinction at the University of Oxford, UK in 2014 until 2017 when she began her DPhil. Also at the University of Oxford, Maame was the program coordinator for the Law Department and lecturer in Constitutional and Criminal Law at Lancaster University's Ghana campus in Accra. She also worked as a technical advisor to an arbitration tribunal at the Ghana Arbitration Center. Maame is called to the bar in Ghana. Her current research focuses on the constitutional tensions between post-colonial nation states and the tribal legal orders within their borders. She has written on judicial review, discretionary powers, executive authority, natural justice, and separation of powers. Just very recently, she delivered a paper on the topic, should we still trust in the judges? And she took a look at cases delivered by the Supreme Court bordering on the Constitution since 2012. We are very privileged and thrilled to have you, Maame, join us to do this for Mother Ghana. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. It is an honor, really.
Yes, please, let's hear you. Please go on. Yeah. So we will begin by noting that we acknowledge that the Constitution Review Commission has done some work that was set up in 2010 and presented a report in 2012. As we know, they did consultations in 170 districts of the country. They met with judges, they sat in people's homes and various interest group meetings and met organized labor. They met with ex-presidents, they met with a vice president, they met with retired judges and sitting judges as well. They met with ex-speakers of parliament and speakers of parliament. They met with party leaders and various others. They held regional and national consultations and they sought views from our kith and kin abroad. They produced for us a historic document. They had over 57 sessions. They had over 89,000 submissions, including through SMS and varied media platforms. And they sought to give us proposals towards transforming a political constitution to a developmental constitution. The president received this document on the 20th of December 2011. The report contains the will, dreams, hopes, and aspirations of the people for what should be their new Ghana. Professor Mills, late, inaugurated the Constitution Review Commission. But truth is, this wasn't his idea. He takes the credit for showing he had a listening ear and decided to take care of a major concern earlier expressed variously by many. The CRC acknowledges this when it says its establishment, quote, was an outcome of many fervent calls by Ghanaians to fine-tune the constitution in order to advance the key democratic gains made since the return to constitutional rule on the 7th of January 1993. But perhaps the African Peer Review Mechanism, APRM, might be rightly credited with being the body that was first to present a formal document in 2005 outlining the many shortfalls in the Constitution needing change. Of course, the concerns were obvious. In fact, Parliament had a hand. President John Kufuor committed himself to the process in an AU meeting in Khartoum in 2007. Today, the MP for Swami, Majority Leader and Minister for Parliamentary Affairs, Oseiche Mensa-Bonsu, is leading a committee from diverse backgrounds to revisit the subject of review using the CRC report as a source document. On July 12, 2022, at a public lecture at KNUST, he delivered a paper on the theme, Constitutional Review, the Perspectives of a Legislator.
I think it is important, Samson, that we remember, President Akufo-Addo of Ghana said that it is important that we never forget that democracy is not a static achievement, but a promise that needs continuous nurturing.
Right.
And he's right. And so the question of whether our constitution needs to be reviewed or not is one that civil society has never ceased to push and prompt the political leadership about the need to complete that process. And recently, the debate has been very vigorously revived by the Fix the Ghana movement in 2020, when it started a campaign for a new constitution. People, including the president, began again talking about the urgency for review, as surveys, including the Afrobarometer by CDD, revealed a significant distrust, reduction in the trust for democracy and its institutions within the country. There have also been, let's also not forget that we've had a wave of coups that have stemmed from some of the failings that we see in African democracy. So Christopher Anyenini and Richard Fosu of Monash University in Melbourne have recorded in a recent publication that the pride and euphoria that greeted independence from colonial rule in the 1950s through the 1960s was short-lived, and many African countries plunged into decades of political instability, socioeconomic stagnation, and crisis, and even civil wars. The causes they identified included a lack of democratic participation by the people and peaceful transfer of power after elections, rebel movements, and the bloody coups. 80 successful ones, 108 failed coup attempts, and 139 coup plots in sub-Saharan Africa alone between 1956 and 2001. Last year, there was a wave of coups and failed coups, and it is predicted that these will continue. The general cry that citizens are not happy because the dividends of the democracy that they have invested so much faith in have not been delivered makes constitutional review for us imperative, because we are lucky to have now the oldest constitution in sub-Saharan Africa, and not just other than Botswana, and not just the oldest constitution, our oldest constitution, the longest configuration of government that we have had. So the majority leader, Authoritative Mensa-Bonsu, seems to suggest a complete overhaul, a fresh constitution for a fresh start.
Right.
And we here today are going to discuss these possibilities.
Right. Thank you very much, Maame. So we will now listen to the majority leader who set the tone even a notch higher not too long ago in July 2022.
Indeed, any president appoints more than 5,000 officers into public office. We are still counting. Certainly, Professor Chairman, is a monarch that the Constitution has created. The rest of us citizens hold him in awe, and even when he strays, it is difficult to talk straight to him. This arrangement needs to be revisited. It cannot be good for our growth. It cannot be good for the growth of democracy. The country needs a head of state and government. Therefore, agreeably and understandably, at any given time, we shall have a president or prime minister. However, there is an empirical study conducted by the World Bank which suggests that small unitary countries are better served with prime ministers as heads of state other than presidents. A president has the whole country as his constituency, whereas a prime minister operates from his or her own small cell. When the parliamentary leader wins and his party wins majority of seats in parliament, he becomes the prime minister. His campaign purse is small as compared to the president's campaign wardrobe. Of late, electioneering campaign funds of contestants at every level of political arrangements has been escalating. The campaign funds of parliamentary candidates from primaries to national elections is averaging $600,000. $600,000. That is according to the research conducted by CDD in respect of the events culminating in the 2020 elections. $600,000. If we are converting it to cedis now, it will be 4.8 million Ghana cedis to elect a member of parliament into office. Now, if you elect such a person into office, he or she is not a Father Christmas. You make him a minister. What do you think will happen? And as a nation, we turn around, we say we want to combat corruption. How do you combat corruption when we do this to ourselves? Mr. Chairman, that amount is huge. We are yet to begin the counting of notes in the lead up to the 2024 elections. The campaign pairs of a presidential candidate from party primaries to the national elections by any proper reckoning and accounting cannot be less than the equivalent of 50 million United States dollars. How much does that translate to? 50 million. Over 400 million. Where do the candidates have the monies from? There is a nexus between huge campaign expenditure and corruption through the award of contracts. What therefore should be our preference pursuant to good governance? As a nation, we must confront this. Do we need this expensive structure of government in the president, or a much lesser evil in the form of a prime minister who is, as well, much more accessible and accountable to the representatives of the people? We have a choice. In a strict presidential system, ministers are appointed from outside parliament. Invariably, they are all technical persons in various fields who, when they come to be appointed, are able to assist the president in the determination of policy of government, and also for the efficient running of the state. These are experts, they are consultants, technical people, they are professionals who add value to government. That is what obtains in the United States of America, which is the flagship of presidential systems in the world. In the Westminster system, the Prime Minister appoints ministers for the same purpose in the determination of general policy of government as contained in our Constitution, Article 76(2), and also for the efficient running of the state, Article 78(2). The ministers in the Westminster system are not necessarily technocrats, but they are often long-serving members of parliament who must have served on committees for some time, risen to chair the committees, or perhaps served as shadow ministers and acquainted themselves with all matters pertaining to particular ministries or departments or agencies, such that they might have become authorities in matters concerning the various ministries, departments, and agencies. When such people are appointed as ministers, there is manifest value addition, unlike what obtains in our Fourth Republic, where because of the hybrid system of government that is being operated, the president is compelled to appoint a majority of ministers from parliament. And that is according to Article 78(1), which provides ministers of state, and I'm quoting, shall be appointed by the president with the prior approval of parliament from among members of parliament or persons qualified to be elected as members of parliament, except that the majority of ministers of state shall be appointed from among members of parliament. You are all witnesses to what obtains in such an arrangement. Many ministers, deputy ministers, when they get nominated and who appear before the appointment committee of parliament, when asked fundamental questions, rudimentary questions relating to their designated ministries, would often respond. And I'm quoting them. I don't know, please. You approve of me, and when you do approve of me, when I go there, I shall learn. What are you going to learn? When the Constitution provides that you shall assist the president in running the state efficiently, and the Constitution provides that you shall assist the president to evolve policies for your ministry. You are telling us at the appointment committee that we should approve of you. When you go there, you go and learn. So what value addition are they adding to your governance? Ladies and gentlemen, that's what you have. How are such persons, rudimental learners, going to assist the president in the determination of general policy of the ministries, the superintendent, or indeed of the government? How are they going to help in the efficient running of the state? There's one principal reason why, as a nation, we are marking time. We are stuck because many of our ministers do not add value to our governance. That's the truth. And I'm not here talking about the current MPP administration. I refer to all administrations since 1993. The time has come for us to seriously introspect on this. And hasn't the time come for us to place in the Constitution an upper ceiling on the number of ministers of state that we should have? As I've already stated, cabinet ministers assist the president in the evolution of policies. That is according to Article 76 of the Constitution. All bills and agreements that are presented to Parliament are underpinned by governmental policy and principles, which the cabinet ministers propose to cabinet. So if you are not a cabinet minister, you are not part of the process of the evolution of policy. That means that a minister who is not a cabinet minister cannot assent to or present a bill or agreement to Parliament if that minister is not a cabinet minister, and therefore is not part of the process of the formulation of policy and principle. If that is the case, as I believe it is, why have such huge number of ministers in the first place? Again, it's important for us to do serious introspection on this and interrogate the Constitution. The Constitution provides in Article 76(1) that there shall be a cabinet which shall consist of the president, the vice president, and not less than 10 and not more than 19 ministers of state. unquote. Given the role of ministers of state, who cabinet ministers are, that is for running the state efficiently and assisting the president in the determination of policy of his government. It is my contention that apart from regional ministers, the number of central government ministers may not have to exceed 19, as contained in the Constitution. And that means ministries shall also not have to exceed 19. All ministers, to be relevant and to be able to assist in the evolution and determination of policy in their sectors, must be cabinet ministers. The excess numbers must be cut off, and that will significantly reduce public expenditure. For the avoidance of doubt, the Constitution must provide for that.